This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Welcome to the Triple Option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
Well, Paul forgot his headset, Pierre. So,
first time doing radio?
I think so. First time, Paul? Yeah, he said first time. He's definitely rocking through the motions.
It's funny because I was looking at him for a second, and in my head I was like, "Where's his headphones?" But I just assumed that Paul is a professional.
Yeah,
and I guess that's what I get for assuming things.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, he's almost got it together over here. I'm not sure. Doing a little dance.
Boy, we are a well-oiled machine here on Thursday.
We are. Here he comes, the man of the moment.
Mic on. There we go. All righty. Well, that was strange. I was like, hey, man, how am I going to hear him?
That would have put you behind by a solid 5 minutes in the Amazing Race.
Yeah.
You'd be trying to catch up to that. What a silly mistake. You'd get that noise that they make when somebody makes a mistake, the kind of thing.
Exactly. Yeah. So before we get into the Big Ten v. Jim Harbaugh in Michigan, and however that's going to get resolved, we do have to talk about, and if you're not a fan of the show, I don't care, because a very funny thing, and it is a competition show, so there's a lot of sports to it.
Yes.
A very funny thing, Pierre and I love this show. A very funny thing happened last night. There were these two women who were kind of middle of the pack, the whole time. They were doing well. They worked well together. They never really got in fights. Those are key things on the Amazing Race. You have to, work through your differences pretty well. And they were in Germany, and they were supposed to take a ferry and get some coins to this old castle and do this challenge. And these two girls got on not only the wrong ferry, but the fifth one they could have got on.
Correct.
So they were, miles and miles, or kilometers, since it's in Europe, down the road of where they needed to be. And then they finally got on the ferry. They were like, "Oh, have you seen the other teams?" And the ferry driver, or the money guy, in the most German way possible, was like, "No." And then they were like, "Oh, we're winning."
It never occurred to them one time that they might have gone to the wrong ferry.
Yeah. Until they actually did get to the castle by driving back, which I guess you didn't really need to get on the ferry to go to the castle. It was just one of those things. But they actually found the castle and got there and then realized they'd done the wrong thing. And then and you and I, anybody who watches sports knows this, the absolute realization that now they knew there was no way that they were going to win this thing. They were exhausted from all their driving and walking and everything they had to do and all the different things that happened. But the absolute, it did break me, but I was laughing and hurt for them at the same time, in that they thought they were winning. They thought they had it. They were like, "We're in first. Nobody's even on this ferry but us." And then by that time, everybody else was already on to the next thing.
Right. Oh, and they were. The sun was starting to set. It was both literally and figuratively for them. And one of the things that I love about this show, there are a myriad of things I love about this show, but the one thing I do love is on every leg, you never know what could happen. You have to, even if you think you're in dead last, you have to keep going, because you never know when somebody had an issue with transportation. You never know if somebody did the challenge wrong and had to pay a 2-hour penalty or whatever. So you have every incentive to still finish the leg. Mm-hmm. But on occasion, we have seen teams who have done so poorly that Phil comes in the middle of the leg and just says, why don't you take 5? You don't really need to keep going on, because this has just been an absolute embarrassment. And that's what we saw last night.
The thing I wonder is how long did they give? Once the two guys with the beards, mustache guys got there, they were like, "Well, we better," because he knows. The other funny thing I got to think about this, and I think about this with all shows like this, is there's a camera crew and a producer there that are just going, "Oh, this is great," and they have to play it stone-faced, because they can't talk to them and ask them. The only time you get to really interact with them is when something bad happens, somebody like the season ago, like ran the car into the ditch, and they're like, "Yeah, we probably need to call."
Yeah,
somebody.
Yeah, and that's like that. You're exactly right. I mean, the camera crew and everybody, all the producers, they know the situation. They're getting radioed in from like other camera crews that are with the other teams, so they know where everybody is. So for them, and that's got to be a great feeling too. Like you said, the two guys with the beard and the mustache to come in thinking you're done, only to be told you're going on. And then, what a feeling that's got to be.
Sitting in the hotel for hours going, we we kicked their ass. Like, we could have stayed at the mustard place longer.
100%. Yes. Yeah. And I was thinking, like, which challenge would I do? Would I do the soccer dart thing or would I do the mustard? I thought I would for sure do the soccer dart thing because going through 9 different mustards and have to not only identify them, but call them by their German name, not for me.
No, and you and I think if we were doing this, I think we could master it.
Yeah. Oh, I think so.
Yeah. It would
definitely think so.
Knowing that like the first 6 or 7 tries.
Oh yeah.
It's not going to take that long. It's only 4 soccer balls before you figure out what you're going to do.
Yeah. No problem.
Yeah.
No problem.
Anyway, let's get to it, Pierre. You are in the heart of Big Ten country, a place that is full of, we'll call it piss and vinegar right now about Jim Harbaugh and the sign stealing scandal. The Big Ten may today try to levy punishment. There is a lot of things that have happened since the last time you and I talked with this. Apparently, Rutgers and Purdue and Ohio State were sharing some information of stuff that they'd gathered, which is very much like the Wake Forest situation of several years ago that happened to Dave Clawson when their radio color analyst was feeding things to other teams because he was bitter about being let go and being on the radio. And they didn't know it for a couple of years that he was doing this. They're just sitting there 2-10 and 3-9 going, I don't know, golly. It's like they knew it was coming. What are we doing wrong? So, but the NCAA didn't do anything about that. Bruce Feldman wrote a great article about it today on The Athletic. But they're Tony Bettini is going to try to placate the 13 angry coaches by levying a suspension of Jim Harbaugh. And Michigan yesterday said, whoa. First of all, be careful what you wish for because you may realize that this is more prevalent than you think. This was all Connor Stallions, and he's already gone. You don't have the right to do this in the bylaws, and this is an NCAA matter and leave it up to the NCAA. So Tony Bettini's in a bit of a rock and a hard place here because if he tries to do something, Michigan's just going to fight it anyway. The point is to get Jim Harbaugh suspended now so that it affects this season, but this season is only 3 to 4 games long for everybody else. So really, this is all just window dressing, right?
So you don't want to talk about the Rutgers Iowa total being at 28. You don't.
We can get to it. We can get to it.
Got it. No, it's funny because earlier this week, as for viewers who don't know, I host the PJ Flex show here in Minneapolis, and I had a chance to ask PJ about this very situation, to which, to no surprise, he didn't really have a lot to offer other than to confirm that there was a meeting of Big Ten coaches to discuss this very matter. And after reading the report yesterday, and I kind of smirked a little bit when I saw that, how many state representatives, 11 or so, that are sending letters to the Big Ten to kind of quote unquote warn them. And I said to myself, I wonder where these state representatives went to school, but I didn't do any digging into that. So just take that for what you will. But we mentioned this. I think we talked about it a little bit on the show last week. For as much smoke as there appears to be, there is still a due process situation that has to play out. And to be perfectly honest, I don't really understand why Tony Petitti would feel under so much pressure to do something right now. We talked about this last week. This is a punishment that probably is going to come. And if it is going to come, it's probably going to come next season. So I understand how bad it's going to look in the court of public opinion in terms of Michigan if they get to the Final Four, given everything that's going on right now. But I'm sorry, I'm actually on the side of these state representatives. I can't believe I'm saying it, in terms of you have to wait to see the entire investigation play out before you can hand out any type of punishment. This is not a a pre-punishment, so to speak. It's like, well, we know you probably did it. It's pretty obvious that there was some shady stuff going on. So we're just going to punish you to appease people who are calling for your head without completing the investigation. No, that's not how it works. And that's not how it should work.
No. And look, I'm all for Michigan getting their due process. I think the special circumstance is that they know that Connor Stallions was at their games this year for games that or opponents have been played. They have that evidence. And for the teams that have that evidence, that's enough, right?
Right.
And so the problem they run into, and look, I actually think that if the rules were written differently, that probably is enough, right? That probably is what you need, because in-person scouting is illegal. If I've got a picture of Connor Stallions at a game, in-person scouting, then I should be able to suspend whoever I want, like his boss, because that happened under his watch. The problem is the Big Ten, and not surprisingly so, didn't go into all the details of what, and the NCAA hasn't either, of what actually constitutes in-person scouting and what the exact punishment, the Big Ten, especially since this is an NCAA rule and not a Big Ten rule, is trying to put it under the sportsmanship clause. Well, that means that they're going to have to define that. Well, part of the reason they don't define it is so that they can slide through, and when a team that's probably going to the college football playoff, might step over that line, they could wade through until it's over, cash their check and be like, I am shocked and appalled.
Yeah. Yes.
This must be a trust. I cannot believe such a thing would happen. But when you have 13 other schools that are enraged about this, you're Tony Petitti, and you're like, well, I got to do something about it because it's my job. All right, Frank, bring me the handbook. Sir, you're not going to like the handbook. I'm going to tell you right now, the handbook is not going to give you the answers you seek. It is not like the Bible, man. It is.
Right.
It's one of those, apparently, this section of the Big Ten handbook is kind of like an IKEA shelf. It's missing some instructions in a key spot that you have to figure out on your own. And so they can't really do anything about it. And Michigan's lawyers rightfully told them, hey, from what we can read, you do anything about it. Now, there is one thing they said that I want to get your opinion on, Pierre. I talked about it on the Late Show yesterday, but I got to pull up Ross Dellinger's tweet. This is where you're like, this is Michigan getting too big for their britches, and they should have just left this part out. Let me find it. There's so many tweets on this. Michigan to Big Ten on Connor Stallions. It is highly dubious that a junior analyst's observations about the other side's signals would have had a material effect on the integrity of competition, particularly when, according to the present evidence, the other coaches did not know the basis for those observations. Okay. I understand that they probably would not ask because maybe they don't want to know, and that's the reasonable thing. But there are copious amounts of pictures.
Yes.
Albums full of pictures of him standing next to Jim Harbaugh and both signal callers on the sideline. Defensive coordinator, whoever signals in the offensive plays, I don't know if it's the offensive coordinator or whoever, but standing next to all those coaches on the sideline and telling them. So trying to say look, they didn't really need him, but he was there. Okay. They seemingly used him a lot. Mm-hmm. So saying that we don't know how much it affected the game. Well, tell your coaches who had him attached to the hip on both sides of the ball, and the guy's like a butterfly on the sidelines bouncing back and forth between coaches. He is never that far away from Jim Harbaugh. And now I understand that part of this is because he is the world's luckiest stalker, but it's not often that you are an actual stalker and then the place you're stalking goes, why don't you come work here? Yeah. Come on. Come on in.
I mean, like we've mentioned, the evidence is overwhelming. The hammer is going to come down. I absolutely believe that the hammer is going to come down on this program in one way or the other, whether it's in a week, whether it's in 3 months. The hammer is going to come down. What it looks like, we still don't really know the effect of that. It kind of feels like with the whole handbook and the details of what you can and can't do, it almost feels like you're an Olympic athlete an Olympic athlete doing a specific type of steroid, but that steroid just so happens to not be on the banned substance list, even though we know it's a steroid. So it's like, well, we know you cheated, but technically, can we get you for this? Because we forgot to put whatever in the handbook. So it's a tough spot.
It's very similar to andro in baseball.
Yes.
Like baseball didn't have a rule about andro.
Great point.
They didn't have a rule about it. They had a rule about performance enhancing substances, but it was just like, they basically just said anything from a needle, don't do it. And then they're like, well, I got this protein shake here. It's got all this crazy stuff in it. That's not on the list. And then baseball did something that I hope the Big Ten doesn't do, is that they went back and retroactively like tried to do this because they were like, I can't believe it. Like, again, all right, when you walked in, if you were at the Chicago Cubs or anywhere where Jose Canseco was, and you just saw this dude and you're like, man, his workouts must be really efficient.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. If you were in San Francisco and you watched Barry Bonds explode, you wouldn't be like, oh, I'm shocked and appalled. Like, oh, well, I guess diet and exercise do make a difference in one's life. We
all need to get on that routine.
Yeah. So when he goes to the guy and says, yeah, I know that last year I was a 7 hat size. I'm now a 7 3/4. Yeah. And it's like,
that's quite a growth spurt for an adult.
Yeah. For a 33-year-old man. Yeah. Yeah. So all those things, like this is going to be kind of similar, where the Big Ten better just say, listen, we didn't understand this. So going forward, here's what we're going to do. And, here's the rules, because, and it like all this, I think the lesson that we have to learn in this is, all right, so Jim Harbaugh was breaking an NCAA rule. The NCAA is going to punish him somehow. That's probably going to come about. He's got other rules he's broken. There's other things that they're investigating. Just add it to the stack in the Jim Harbaugh office in Indianapolis. Just here you go. And then the Big Ten, not understanding the depth at which these things go, didn't have a specific rule about it or a way to punish this thing. So now they need to create one and define for probably all of college athletics what in-person scouting means. Yeah. If they're going to continue banning in-person scouting, which I think now there's no chance it's going to come back, at least in the interim, because you can't just we're just going to let everybody do it now. That's what we did with everything else.
Right.
And then lead into just put radios in the helmets, man.
I know, and to be honest, Paul, we all know that, like I said a moment ago, there is a punishment that is going to come for the program. The interest that I have in this story is, what is Jim Harbaugh's future going to look like? Because in my head, I'm thinking there's no way you can have this guy be the head coach of your program next year. And now, what does that entail in terms of what that's going to mean? And if Michigan doesn't want Jim Harbaugh to be their coach, how do they try to get out of it? Is there a morals clause in there that they can slap on him that says they can get out of this deal without having to pay him the rest of his contract? How is that going to work? That probably will go, if Jim wants to stay on as the coach and they don't want him to, and they fire him with cause, and whatever they believe to be is the cause, will that go to court? I don't know how this all ends up with Jim Harbaugh continuing to be the coach of Michigan at the end of the college football season. I don't know how it ends up that way.
I still think he's going to the NFL, especially if they do in fact win. The best thing he can do is just, ring, oh, hello, NFL team to be named later, not the Chicago Bears at all.
Correct. Yes.
Hey, you know what?
That feels like the worst kept rumor out there right now. It feels like it's way too obvious at this point.
Oh, you've sucked for a long time? You don't really care about my ethics? I'm fine with that. It's a very Chicago thing anyway. The Chicago politics, that's how it works, right? So,
and how would that look for Kevin Warren too, who was the Big Ten commissioner and now is with the Chicago Bears? And if he brought in Jim Harbaugh after all this, how would that? Kevin Warren's a guy I believe to be a man of great integrity, So I don't know how. Part of me is thinking, what, would Kevin Warren do that? I don't think so.
Ask the Pac-12 what they think about Kevin Warren.
Yeah, that fair point.
Yeah. Hey, listen, guys, we're an alliance.
Yeah.
Me, us,
Fair
Big
point.
Ten, you guys, Pac-12, ACC, we're all in this together.
Right.
So here's what we're going to do. We're going to say no to everything everybody else wants. And then because we're 3 and there's only 2 others, then we win. And then the ACC and the Pac-12 are like, yeah, way to go. We're with you. You tell us what to do, Kevin. We'll do it. And then when Kevin went and negotiated his TV deal and then was like, okay, that's done. All right, yeah, let's go to this 12-team playoff. ACC, Pac-12, we don't need you anymore. Here's what we're going to do. And then the ACC is like, oh, well, that kind of sucks. And then the Pac-12 at the time is like, ha, Big Ten, you guys are awesome. Do whatever you want. We'll be fine. Nothing bad's going to happen. We live on the West Coast.
Yeah. You know what? Now that I think about it, you make a really good point.
So, again, let's see what happens. But I can hear Jim Harbaugh going, yeah, I do miss gigantic casserole that parades as pizza.
Same.
Yeah. Where do you stand on that, by the way? Here's how I feel about it. It's fine.
Yeah. It's fine. Like if it's there in front of me, what am I going to take some kind of hardline stance against it? No. But at the same time too, I'm like, kind
of hard to eat, right?
Yeah.
I feel the same way about Chicago hot dogs, where they just like jam a bunch of stuff on there.
Boy, and the rigidness that the Chicago natives have over their hot dogs, man. Like that is just that's somebody could do a whole podcast on that.
I'm a man of simplicity when it comes to hot dog.
Same.
Listen, I don't think ketchup goes on a hot dog because I think most of the time it covers up the flavor of the meat. If you have a good hot dog. Now, look, if you're talking about, a trash hot dog, do whatever you want. But I think, but I think like mustard, relish, if you have the right kind of hot dog, like maybe some sauerkraut, something like that, I can do that. But when you start getting past 3 toppings, I'm out.
9 times out of 10, I'm typically a ketchup and a mustard on a dog. I can be fine with just mustard as well. But every once in a blue moon, if I get a chili cheese dog, I'm leaving to look at myself like, boy, I'm really overdoing it today, aren't I?
Yeah.
Like I have gone out of my way.
But chili cheese dog, fine. That's like 2 toppings, right? Maybe like a sprinkling of onion. Right.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
I mean, but it's not like overwhelming. Yeah. No. But yeah, Chicagoans about their pizza and their hot dogs.
Oh, by the way, I hope Chicagoans are watching right now. Hey, Chicago, your pizza sucks. In all honesty, your pizza sucks. Yeah, it just no. Compared to New York and listen, Detroit style pizza. Oh boy,
I like the Detroit style pizza.
That's number 1 for me.
I like the compromise of listen, it's a little thick, but it's not. It's not like pizza and lasagna had a tryst, and this is what we have.
Yeah. I've actually now that I've come around to thinking about it. Yeah, Chicago, your pizza sucks. It's garbage.
By the way, thanks, retired stockbroker, for the super chat. Appreciate that. I love you, buddy. Thanks for watching all live when you take the time to. Certainly appreciate that. He says I speak the truth.
Yes, there's no doubt that he does.
Yeah, and look, there are things. If that's your thing, I'm not knocking it. If you like something, go ahead. I'm just saying that I don't prefer that way. I was told today, and I do think this is true. I'm a bit snobbish when it comes to food. So I think I need to maybe be kinder. I'm offering you what I feel is a better way to enjoy something. That's all I'll do.
I admit, and I think you've heard me say this before, after living in Texas for 4 years, I feel that I turn into a barbecue snob. Oh. And that's why when I have friends from Kansas City and talk about, I'm like, oh, okay, that's cute. You stay in your corner over there.
Kansas City and Texas barbecue are different. You got to know
very different.
I love Kansas City barbecue, but I also know what they do better than Texas does, and vice versa. There's all this, same with North Carolina, Alabama. You just got to know. I went back home to my hometown a few years ago, and I met a couple of buddies of mine, and they're like, "Hey, we got to go try this barbecue place. I've heard it's great." And I was like,
Yeah.
I'm like, great. I'm happy to see you guys. And
Right,
so
sure.
they're like, you're kind of picking at that. I'm like, oh, it's fine. It's good.
Yeah.
And then my one friend was like, oh, I forgot where you live now. I was like,
Correct.
yeah. I said, yeah, I mean,
Correct.
yeah. I said, do you want me, like, do you think they'd be mad if I went back and, like, I'll invite them to Texas. You can stay at my house. You guys come here. We'll drive around to a couple places, and you won't, and this won't be barbecue brisket that is smoked with palm.
Correct. Yes.
It's all about the wood. It's the wood that makes it good.
It's exactly correct.
Yeah.
Exactly correct.
Those are the lessons we learned. When we come back, we're going to look at the week really quick and some of the things going on. Before we make our picks, Pierre just dominated. Actually, Jack's starting to climb.
He's nipping. Nipping. Yeah, I have for a couple weeks ago, I didn't think I had to pay much attention, but now I do.
If it was the Major League Baseball trade deadline, you would be like making a trade to make sure to get ahead so that Jack didn't get it. Like,
correct.
Oh yeah. Look, I'll trade 3 prospects to make sure that they don't get this guy. He's coming here. That's what you'd be doing. This is the triple option on 365 Sports.
If your business is like most, you need things done quickly. But if you're still tying your critical applications together on multiple shared public networks, you've probably been feeling the slowdown. And that's no good for business. A private UPN fiber network can get you and your business moving at the speed of light. Whatever you need, we can build it. Internet, Metro Ethernet, Waves, dark fiber. We deliver custom private networks and are focused on business customers only. Our next generation 100% fiber optic infrastructure offers you low latency and ultra scalable bandwidth with speeds up to 100 gigabit to run your critical applications. Your connection won't be limiting your performance anymore. It's diverse and scalable, so it can grow and change as your business grows and changes. And with a secure carrier-grade private network, you'll have all the reliability you need. Contact UPN today to learn more. Fast just got faster.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Welcome to the Triple Option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
Alongside my future Amazing Race partner.
No doubt about it.
I think, listen, we could just cobble together some of this stuff.
Yes.
Yeah. And I promise you, I won't do it until I get like really heavy back in the gym because I don't want you to be like, Paul, Jesus, man.
We're like, listen, one thing, the only thing, because I've had a couple of people say, I would love to run this race with you. And I said, this is all I ask, because after watching all the seasons, my one rule in the show is read the clue. Read the clue from beginning to end. You have no idea how many people just stop. Oh, yeah, blah, blah, blah. Said, you have to take a taxi to so-and-so, but they run or vice versa, and then they pay a penalty. Read the clue from beginning to end. People do not do that on that show. It drives me nuts.
Yeah. Here's the other thing I promise you we'll do. One of us will learn how to drive stick.
Oh, it has to be one of us, because when I was a teenager, learning how to drive stick, that did not go well for me.
I tried to learn. I was working at a radio station early in my career, and they bought a truck for the radio station. It was a country radio station. And I told them, I was like, hey, if I'm the guy who's going to be driving this truck, please don't buy a standard. And they're like, no, we got a great deal on this. I'm like, I'm just telling you, it's going to sit in the parking lot a lot. And they're like, no, you know how to drive stick. And I'm like, I don't know how to drive stick. And they're like, well, we'll teach you. It's easy. And then the old people in the building didn't understand. And I was like, look, I didn't have a standard transmission. None of my friends had one. Like, my parents didn't have one. There was never a car I got into. Like, if I would get into drive, like if I'm the designated driver, but we're taking so-and-so's car, the so-and-so designated driver was never like, hey, we'll take my Maserati, that has a stand. Like, none of that happened. Garrett, you grew up in Oglesby. You probably know how to drive one, right?
Well, not really. There was only one, like my grandpa had standards all the time. He had this one specific truck that I could pull it off, but the rest of the time, no, wasn't happening.
Yeah. So yeah, but I don't know how to do it. And it was really hard to do. And eventually they're like, look, we don't have time to take time out of the actual workday to teach you how to do something that we all know how to do second nature. And I was like, again, I know that this is kind of my fault, but I told you,
yes, you offered the information.
It wasn't like I lied or oh yeah, no. I'm telling you, I don't know how to do it. And I don't like driving that much to where I would just go like, and I remember one time we were having a discussion on the air about it. They were making fun of me. And I was like, would you just like go out and drive a random car in your free time to learn how to do it? And how would something happen? Like, do I just call around to places like, hey, do you have a car with standard transmission that I could learn how to drive?
Yeah, and I don't. You know what else I don't need? I don't need all of the stick shift purists out there telling me,
hey, the driver's ed car.
Yeah,
automatic.
I don't need the stick shift purists out there telling me, oh, this is the way you really drive a car. It's like, oh, okay, fine. Like I tried learning on my aunt's VW, like Fox, I think it was. I don't even think they make that car anymore. Yeah. And that thing, I remember vividly being at a stop sign and a truck passing me by and slowing down, like stuck in neutral. Yeah. I was just like, yep. I am.
We are 20 years away from where if you like actually have your hands on the steering wheel, people are going to judge you for it.
Correct. Yes. Yes.
So, again,
excellent point.
Me not doing that. Anyway, we diverged in the wood there, but it's fine. That's what we do. That's what I want this show to be: is random small talk intermixed with the issues of the.
There is I know we're going to talk college football, and there is an issue that I think we probably can broach here that I know you're going to very much enjoy.
Okay.
So I'm gonna, but it's your show. I'm going to let you lead the whole thing.
Let's ping pong. So I'll do mine and then you do yours. All right. Quinn Ewers is back for Texas this week. That's a big deal. Malik
Texas
Murphy played well though.
Texas tried to lose that game in every which way they could, didn't they? My gosh.
Kansas State was a little bit like the Cowboys were the other day when, like, at the end of the game. Like Texas is trying, like the Eagles are trying to give you a gift. Receive it. Like, don't do
Open your heart, let it in.
Don't do the thing where somebody's buying you dinner. You're like, no, you don't get the check. You don't do that. You're like, no, absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate it. I like it. Don't pretend like you're going to pay. Just be the time like, you know what? Yes. It is nice to get a dinner. That's what you need to do. But I don't think they really needed him against a TCU team that is flailing and may not make a bowl. Like they play Baylor next week. Baylor can't beat them. So even in a bad year, like TCU is probably going to win that game. Although this would be that like after Baylor loses to Kansas State this week, more than likely.
It ain't gonna happen.
But it would be the most Baylor thing ever to lose against Kansas State, be ineligible for a bowl, and then this team is the one who finds a way to beat TCU when you could have kept them out of the CFP and the Big 12 title game a year ago if you if Blake Shapen had just dove for a first down. But anyway, I digress. That's a big news. All right, your issue, Pierre.
Paul, I just want to ask you a quick question. How do you feel about grown men crying?
As I've gotten older, I personally do it a lot more.
You do?
Yeah. I don't know what happened. I do think you've got to pick your spots though. And movies get me more. And a lot, like, my father passed away 8 years ago. So like that, like those kind of things get you. So like when you have those memories, like those things will get me. But like there are times where I'll tell you, here's where I knew Paxton Lynch was never going to be an NFL quarterback.
Okay.
When he got drafted, he was crying in a Wingstop. And I thought, like you shouldn't, like the quarterback, like quarterbacks are supposed to know. I know Aaron Rodgers is an absolute weirdo space cadet. There's no denying such a thing. But you know what? When he got drafted after he dropped, he was like, damn right. Like, that's how you need to be. Like, you can be overjoyed, but, like Victor Wembanyama, when he went first overall, didn't cry. I mean, maybe a little tears of joy, but he wasn't sobbing. He was just like, yeah, I'm 7'4". I run really fast. I can shoot from everywhere. Of course I'm going number one.
I realize that I have a much harder stance on these things than most people, and that's what makes me me. But in my mind, there are really only 3 times. You and I have perhaps talked about this before. There are only really 3 times it's appropriate for a grown man to cry: at the death of your parent, your child, or your dog, or if you're watching the movie Field of Dreams.
That's
because every young man wants to have one last catch with dad. So I'm going to give you that one. Yeah. And you can cry when you retire from any level of sporting event.
Yes.
Any level. It could even be high school. I will grant you say, I'm retiring from this game.
Yeah.
You could cry. After that, no, there's no crying. And guess what, Caleb Williams? Your draft stock just plummeted with me after Saturday's pathetic display from what we saw from Caleb Williams. That was absolutely atrocious. Atrocious.
Here's where I will disagree with you. And of course, maybe as a new sensitive person, my wife tells me I'm very sensitive and I pretend not to be.
Okay.
I think everyone here thinks that too. I don't think it's like that's a secret. I'm like a fudge M&M. Like I've got the hard candy exterior, but I'm gooey in the middle.
Yeah.
So the win, I did kind of appreciate that a little bit because Caleb got some undue BS last year, and then like all he cares about is money and blah, da, 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 and I'm kind of rednecking that up, but like there were guys like all he cares about is money and this and that, and he doesn't care about the team. To me, it was good for him to have that moment, like, look, he cares a lot, you know. Now, look, I also am the guy who, when Tim Tebow was crying on the sideline after they beat Alabama, that I was like pointing like with my friends. I'm like, look at him. He's sad.
Yeah.
So
actually, it's funny that you bring Tim Tebow up because I forget what was the game early in the season that they lost 10, 15 years ago, and the Tim Tebow speech at the end of the game. In the post-game press conference.
Was it Mississippi State or Ole Miss?
Was it Ole Miss?
Yeah, Ole Miss. The one that
I think
it's on the statue. It's on his statue.
Yeah, I was like, that's a good speech. Like I didn't see a tear fall from his face. That's a good one. I like that emotion right there. And I want to clarify my stance. Listen, I'm not saying you can't cry. You can. Just expect me to call you a wuss afterward. That is what's going to happen.
I think you also have to you have to pick your spots. Like you have to sure. I'm gonna have a moment. I'm gonna go. I'm not a big cry in public person either.
Right.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go to a place where I can have my emotions, and then I want the only thing I want people to think about is I think Paul might have been just crying. That's all I want. That's the most. Not Paul was definitely crying. The people who are closest to you, wherever you are, might be like, hey, you all right, man? That's all I need. That's all I need. And I get you're kind of overwhelmed with emotion and all that. It's just tough. In sports, it's very emotional, and he has a tremendous amount of pressure on him. So I get it, and I don't begrudge him that. But I would recommend next time, hey, Mom and Dad, can you meet me in the tunnel? Because I really I
need a good cry.
I need to,
I get it.
I'm not foolish.
I get it.
Yeah. I think that there have been a great many presidents of the United States who've had to go give bad news to the country. And then immediately they're probably going off and I have to have a moment. So that's what you need to do. You need to think I'm the president and I just had to give the country the bad news, but they can't see me crying.
Couldn't agree more.
They need to see me
and it further advances the conversation of you're in a position of leadership. Caleb Williams, you can't say, listen, everybody's human. You're going to have your human emotions, but I agree with you entirely. If you're in a position of leadership, though, you kind of need to conceal that from time to time to just give the people to show strength. I'm sorry that you're in a position of leadership and that might be quote unquote unfair of you. It's unfair to ask of you, but at the same time, this is the reality of the situation.
I will tell you, though, Pierre, and you're slightly younger than me. There is a threshold that you cross, and it's in the age gap that you and me and Garrett are in, to where there were things that would have never made you cry in a million years. A million years. And then all of a sudden, you're like, damn it, what is going on here?
I'm going to tell on myself here. Listen. Those surprise military homecomings on YouTube.
Oh dear God!
That's it's over.
Yeah.
But I'm going to uphold myself to the rule. I look myself in the mirror and I say, God, you wuss. What's wrong with you? You know, I can't be a hypocrite here. But you want to get the waterworks going for me right away. Those surprise military homecomings, man.
I can't be tough because if my wife watches any of this for a second, she's going to expose me as a cry, because it's gotten to that point, and I'll rat myself out so she can't do it.
Okay, beat her to the punch.
I have cried at game shows, at certain moments in game shows.
Bruh, come on,
I have. When it's one that's I don't know, like long, trail things. Now, I'll tell you, there was a couple that won the Amazing Race a couple of years ago who I don't care for at all. I think everybody else in America likes them, but they just annoy me. And so I was, it's the Holdernesses. They do a stupid videos. I can't stand them.
the husband wife. Yeah.
So when they were on there, I was rooting against them.
I kind of felt the same way. Oh, I'm with you.
Oh, they're in Luxembourg and can't find their way. I hope they get lost.
Yeah.
I want them standing in Sweden going, how the hell did we get here?
I don't know how that worked out for them.
Anyway, they worked well together. Unfortunately, yeah.
My point really is USC is going to lose by 40 at Oregon this weekend. That's what my point is. Yeah.
No, they're probably going to throw it in the wood chipper a little bit for sure. All right, we are running a little long in this segment, so we got to get to the picks, and that means we've got to do some shuffling in the studio. This is the Triple Option on 365 Sports.
Baylor alumni are more than 160,000 strong. When we all join hands to support our university, we don't just move the needle, we move mountains. Working together, we create life-changing opportunities for students on the field, in the classroom, in the laboratory, and in life for generations to come. So get connected, get involved. Learn how at baylor.edu/alumni.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
It's another time to speak with Samantha Duvall from TexasBeefHouse.com, handles the marketing and someone that you will talk to a lot when you do call for the great product of the Texas-raised Wagyu beef. It's college football season, tailgating, it's a big deal. People love to put beef and pork and chicken, etc. on the grill. Let me know what you have.
We've got everything. If you've got a morning game, you can get our breakfast sausage or our bacon. You can tailgate with some breakfast tacos. If you've got an afternoon or evening game, we of course got our hamburger patties. They're half-pound patties, 4 patties to a package, and we even have jalapeno and cheese patties. They're amazing. They'll blow your mind. Just that extra flavor, not too spicy. They have a high-heat cheese so they don't melt on the grill, and our patties don't shrink up on the grill either. Anytime you order, use our code SICK'EM10 to get 10% off your order of $100 or more.
Where is the best beef in Texas? Your house. When you order from Texas Beef House, unleash the flavor of Texas-raised Wagyu from our pasture to your plate. That's Samantha Duvall, TexasBeefHouse.com.
There are 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit Marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sick'EM365.com. Welcome to the Triple Option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
I promise you I'm a professional broadcaster, Pierre. I promise you. I promise you.
Yeah, me panicking for a moment. I thought I'd mess something up.
No, I guess it was on the whole time and I turned it off.
I was like, do I need to jump in here? The first second I was like, do I need to jump in? I don't know.
There we go. I promise. Today's just one of those. It's raining, outside. We don't know what's going on. We had to kill a mouse in the studio the other day. It was,
oh, geez.
Yeah. So I say we. It was me. I helped.
Can't have vermin infestation. We can't have that.
No, I think we've got like an empty room next door to us that I'm pretty sure that's where it came from. But anyway, but thanks to Rostec Pest Management who came out the other day, my good friend Steven, and fixed that for us. All right, let's get to the pick'em. Pierre, 36 and 14, dominating. But Jack, 3 games out at 33 and 17. Levi and Paul. And I pointed those in the wrong order. Paul and Levi, that's me. We are not doing well. I'm
worse.
But through the grace of God, or whatever entity you believe in, Garrett is here and exists and is worse. So at least I'm not that bad. So,
hey, you know what? I said, like, Jack, like we said earlier in the show, I thought I was cruising to this thing. But Jack, slowly but surely, here he comes, and now I'm gonna have to really, really be on my P's and Q's for the rest of the season because I could be got here.
Yeah. Okay. So here this punishment's gonna be twofold. It's gonna be a dealer's choice for Pierre. Whatever he picks, someone can do.
Okay.
But if any of us who live here in the same town do this, the loser will have to be the winner's butler for the day.
Much like, you know what you should do? You should think of a sitcom for a show like with that premise. That would be even better.
I might have been watching said show and thought, let's do a Seinfeld tribute. With that.
But you can't send, if you are the winner and you have the butler, you cannot send your butler to do somebody else's chores, though. It has to be your butler.
Yeah, you're so if Garrett loses, he's my butler for the day. And correct. I think this one, though, there's going to be, I don't think he's going to lose this week because he and Jack have the same picks. If you can.
Okay.
Yeah, Jack and Levi are at the doing post-game work at Baylor basketball right now. So they're not here, so I already have their picks. Garrett gave me his, so I thought, I don't want to walk all the way over, there. So
save me a trip.
Save me a trip. So I put those in. So let's start. The big one in the Big Ten. Big noon kickoff. The first time that Michigan has been challenged all season, right?
Yeah.
Penn State and Michigan. Pierre, who you got?
I really want to pick Penn State, but I'm not going to. Michigan, despite all of the controversy surrounding Michigan, like we talked about earlier in the week, Michigan's just really good. They've got dudes on that team. I'm taking Michigan.
Yeah, Garrett, I think you and I have talked about this. I just don't think that Penn State has the horses to get them.
I don't trust Drew Aller. I mean, I relied on him to get the upset over Ohio State. It backfired. I'm done with him.
There you go. All right. Well, that hell hath no fury like a Garrett scorned. Let me
Amen to that. That's what I always say.
Let me fix this so it's not bearding up a little bit. Okay. Georgia and Ole Miss. This is Georgia's biggest test. That's kind of the key thing here is that this is maybe the biggest test of the year for certain people. So this is Georgia's biggest test of the year. But do we trust Lane Kiffin? Garrett, I'll start with you. You've picked Georgia. It's between the hedges.
Yes. I love Lane Kiffin. I think he's about the closest thing we have left to Mike Leach as far as the personality. But I would not want him coaching my football team.
Yeah, no, that's true. Okay, Pierre, who you got?
First of all, absolutely well said on Garrett's part. I mean, that's about as perfect a description of Lane Kiffin as you can get. I'm going with Georgia. I think at end of the season, time to start ramping things up. I like Georgia.
All right, I'm gonna go with Georgia here. They've looked really good the last couple weeks. I should probably, seeing as bad as I'm doing, but I'm actually going to take this week and be fine if you and I are the same. We have the same record, and then we get down to the coin flipping, perhaps.
Sure.
On this. Okay. Florida State in Miami. I don't need either of your opinions on this. I'm going to tell you, Keon Coleman, Johnny Wilson will be both back. Miami will give Florida State a time, though. I promise you that. They will give them a time. but Florida State is a much deeper and better team. Tyler Van Dyke's been a nightmare. Go Noles, 10-0.
I think you're gonna make the pick for me there, Paul.
You do whatever you want.
Hey, no, there's no way I'm picking against Florida State this week. I'm going Florida State.
Yeah, they beat Miami by 1,000 last year in Miami. I do think that Florida State will have this little, play with the food thing a little bit.
Yeah.
But Miami's going to have a lot of pride for that one. Garrett's not allowed to pick anybody else. He has to sit here and look at me.
That's fine.
All right, Tennessee and Mizzou. We have some differences in there, as you see. Jack and Levi, Jack and Garrett have both picked Mizzou. I'll get Garrett talked about that. Levi's picked Tennessee in this one on the road. Again, this is a very evenly matched game. Garrett, why'd you go with Mizzou?
I just think they're playing better. I like Brady Cook, what he's been able to do. I hope Luther Burden's back. I haven't seen the status of that. I know he got banged up last week. I think he's going to be the difference maker, but I like what Driscoll's doing over there, and they kind of hung with LSU a little bit.
All right, Pierre, who you got?
I want it on record that I think Missouri is going to win the game. However, just because I like to be sporting and I see that Jack has taken Mizzou, let's make things interesting one way or the other. I'm going with Rocky Top.
Oh, there we go. He did that to you last week.
Yeah, exactly. I said, and this is my opportunity to return the favor.
Yeah.
So let's make things spicy.
Yeah, there we go. All righty. I like this, Pierre. I like this a lot. I am going to go. Yep, I'm going to go with Tennessee. I'm going to do it. Yeah. I'm going to do it. This might be my different pick. Luther Burden's availability changes their whole offense. Tennessee's actually got a pretty good defense, surprisingly enough. Yeah. They figured that out. And really, they don't have Jalen Hyatt. They don't have Cedric Tillman. They don't have Hendon Hooker. That's what makes this team a lot different. Their offensive line's still pretty good. Joe Milton is okay. I mean, I bought the Joe Milton, Josh Heupel's fixed him after he torched Clemson, and what really he was doing was showing, this is Clemson now.
I always felt that the whole Joe Milton thing with the arm was very Jamarcus Russell-less, and that turned me off.
Well, look, you've been hurt, so.
Yes, I have.
Yeah, Jamarcus Russell was at LSU, was the number one draft pick. They won the championship with Matt Flynn instead, or was it Mock?
That one was Mock, and then Flynn came in
after. And then Flynn after. But, in between, they had a guy who everybody wanted to be their quarterback. He didn't win one, but Mock and Flynn did. So, anyway. All right, we wrap up here with Washington and Utah. Garrett, you picked the Huskies. Why?
I mean, I know Utah put up some points last week, which was nice to see. I just don't see them being able to score with Washington. I know the Huskies have struggled as of late. But this is an opportunity for Michael Penix to solidify himself as a true Heisman candidate.
All right, Pierre, who you got?
If this game was in Utah, I think I would take the Utes, but I can't. I'm going with the Dogs.
Yeah, in Seattle, gotta go with the Huskies. I think that's going to be a clean sweep. I just think too much offense here, although they will slow Washington down like some of the other teams have, like Arizona State slowed them down. They'll slow them down a little bit. I just think ultimately Michael Penix and Jalen Polk and Roma Dunze and who am I leaving? Jalen McMillan. Is he back and playing? I don't know. They've got 6 wide receivers. They're not going to run the ball like they did last week because they haven't all year, and that was USC's defense. But I'll take the Huskies in Seattle to get this one done. So a couple differences. Pierre and I are living together here, so
we are.
It's really not going to make a difference of me catching him. But if I get 4 or 5 wins out of this, then that's just good. I'm trying to go for the win call. Right now, I can't worry about anybody else. I got to worry about getting dubs. I got to worry about being at 500 after this week. That's the goal.
This is a good example of our symbiotic nature before we go on to the Amazing Race. This is a perfect example right here.
Yeah, we know. If we're playing soccer darts, we're going to get it figured out.
You know it.
Yeah. I'll tell you, I think we would have done, if we got the U-turn, you and I would have kicked its ass.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I'm not scared of a U-turn.
Yeah.
No. And we don't have time to mope about getting U-turn. You just got to get the task done. Just do it.
Yeah. Again, they didn't follow the instructions the first time. Didn't read all the way to the end. Didn't read all the way to the end.
That's not going to happen with us.
No. We're going to dominate the thing. All right, Pierre, thank you so much. Have a great weekend. We did not talk about Rutgers and Iowa. Iowa keeps hitting the record of over-unders and keeps banging the under every time.
At this point, I'm just in it for the theater to see if it gets under 28 by Saturday morning. That's what I'm here for.
You know, I'm curious to see if you get down to the end of the year and they do one that's like 22. Just daring them to hit the over.
We can dream. We can dream.
Yeah, because I know that there's guys sitting in those rooms going, we can't really go much lower than this. And then they go lower. And they're like, well, we can't go lower than that. And then they go lower.
I mean, honestly, and if it stays at 28, if it was me, I'm still taking the under.
Yeah, I don't trust Rutgers and Iowa
absolutely not.
To have a 15-14 game.
No way. No way.
Yeah, no.
This is 17-7 at best.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. Pierre, have a good weekend, man. Thanks to everybody for watching. Thanks to everybody. Thanks to Retired Stockbroker for the super chat. That's going to do it for us. Big show, just me and Smokey today. We've got Sam Kahn. We've got a cast of others who I'm not remembering right now because I'm old and emotional, and those things break down after
Taylor
a while.
McHarg, Roger Wallace, and Mickey Spag.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Garrett, who had it right in front of you, so you cheated.
That's how we do.
All right. Have a great weekend, everybody.
If your business is like most, you need things done quickly. But if you're still tying your critical applications together on multiple shared public networks, you've probably been feeling the slowdown. And that's no good for business. A private UPN fiber network can get you and your business moving at the speed of light. Whatever you need, we can build it. Internet, Metro Ethernet, Waves, dark fiber. We deliver custom private networks and are focused on business customers only. Our next generation 100% fiber optic infrastructure offers you low latency and ultra scalable bandwidth with speeds up to 100 gigabit to run your critical applications. Your connection won't be limiting your performance anymore. It's diverse and scalable, so it can grow and change as your business grows and changes. And with a secure carrier-grade private network, you'll have all the reliability you need. Contact UPN today to learn more. Fast